So this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how you can have firearms shipped straight to your house as a non-federal firearms licensee, non-FFL holder. I want to preface all of this by saying I'm not a lawyer. I do not even play one on TV. This is not legal advice. And even if it were, saying that the evil YouTube man made me do it would not hold up in court. So the first way we can get firearms shipped to our houses as non-FFL holders is by making sure the firearms we're buying are not firearms. And if you are familiar with US gun law and you see the firearm that I'm holding, you might know what I'm talking about. This is an antique firearm, and if you reference the abortion of justice and horrible trampling of human, natural, God-given, and constitutionally protected rights, that is, the 1968 Gun Control Act, you'll see that it defines what is and isn't a firearm. Antique firearms are defined as any firearm manufactured before 1898, regardless of the action, regardless of the type of ammunition it uses. And part of that clause also includes stuff like black powder firearms that do not use metallic cartridges, as well as reproductions therein. That's why all of the black powder reproduction cap and ball pistols and flintlocks and stuff that you can buy, all of those can be shipped straight to your door because they're legally not considered firearms. And in fact, even if you're a restricted person or like a felon, you can purchase antique firearms to include something like this, which is a very modern rifle. This is a smokeless powder rifle that uses a metallic cartridge, a very modern cartridge that's still being produced today. And there's nothing that a modern bolt action rifle can do that this rifle can't do. Antique firearms, black powder, muzzle loaders, great if you're a restricted person or a felon. And even for the rest of us that aren't felons, we can still benefit from this in that antique firearms can be shipped directly to our house. Now, I'm sure there's a portion of people out there that just kind of scrunched up their faces and went, why should felons be allowed to own firearms? There are plenty of felonies out there. I would say the vast majority of felonies you can commit are non-violent, victimless crimes. Even stuff that's like, that really, you know, it's kind of cool, like tax evasion and tax fraud, you know, like some of that stuff's pretty cool. But, you know, if you get caught, you're now a felon for the rest of your life. So yeah, I don't think that lying to the government and stopping them from taking a few $1,000s from you constitutes their ability or justifies their ability to restrict and remove your natural human right to arm and defend yourselves. And I think anyone that's thought about this issue for more than 15 seconds probably agrees with me, but I digress. So the second way that you can get a firearm shipped directly to your house as a non-FFL holder, and you're really going to have to consult your local and state laws because this goes directly off of the ATF's guidance on shipping firearms, and we know how much the ATF likes to change their guidance and rules willy-nilly, but essentially the ATF's guidance on shipping long guns specifically, that is rifles and shotguns, not handguns, not short-barreled shotguns, not short-barreled rifles, not machine guns, long guns, you can ship them to another person in your state who is legally allowed to firearm, but again, they have to be in your state, and I think it has to go through the US Post Office. So if I lived in Amarillo, Texas, and I bought a gun off someone in El Paso, Texas, and I Venmo'd him $500, and then he can go and ship a rifle to me in Amarillo, Texas, and it can go directly to my house. But again, has to be in the same state, has to be to someone that can legally own a firearm. It's essentially no different than if I drove to El Paso and bought the gun off of him, handed him a wad of cash, and he handed me the rifles. Now, this only applies to like private sales between two non-FFL holders as well. If you bought from like a gun store in El Paso and you live in Amarillo, you're gonna have to go there and fill out a 4473, or you're gonna have it shipped to your local gun store and fill out a 4473 there. This would only apply to like gifts and private sales. Now, before I go any further, I would like to ask you guys that if you've learned something or you find this information useful, that you drop a super thanks, or maybe I also have channel memberships set up now, and I think the buy-in starts at $1 a month. If you'd support me that way, that'd be really awesome. I also have a Discord now, which I will link in the description below. So when it comes to US service rifles specifically, you can get these shipped straight to your door through an organization that I'm very passionate about, known as the Civilian Marksmanship Program. Now, the Civilian Marksmanship Program is primarily an organization dedicated to promoting rifle and pistol marksmanship, and they do this by sanctioning and promoting a bunch of competitions in rifle and pistol events, everything from service rifle to service pistol, bullseye, air pistol, air rifle, even action pistol recently, long range stuff. They do a ton of stuff. It's a great organization, and they focus mainly on getting kids into shooting, which is a wonderful, noble goal. But the other half about the CMP, it's still the only organization allowed to distribute surplus U.S. arms and ammunition to the people. Also, I'd like to say in full disclosure that you cannot get an M1 carbine through the CMP currently. They have not had these in stock for a number of years now. And I will talk about how we might be able to get some M1 carbines in stock at the CMP in just a second. But let's talk about what they do sell. Now, by and large, the #1 rifle they've sold over the last, I think, decade and a half or so are going to be M1 Garands. And this is an M1 Garand I purchased off them back in 2018. It shipped straight to my door. Now, the biggest reason why you want to order through the CMP is because you can get a rifle like this M1 Garand here, depending on the condition, for as little as $700 at the time of making this video. When you look at M1 Garands on the open market, they're almost all over $1,000, some of them reaching $2,000 plus in about this condition, and it's really quite crazy. And the other thing about ordering through the CMP is that the shipping is free, and if you live outside the state of Alabama, you do not have to pay sales tax. Now, the other thing about the CMP is that their facility in Anniston, Alabama, houses probably the greatest concentration of knowledge about the M1 Garand from like an armorer's perspective than anywhere else in the world. And there are some guarantees that you get when you order a CMP rifle. You know that they're all going to be properly assembled, properly inspected, properly refurbished if necessary, properly head-spaced, and every single one of them is going to be muzzle and throat erosion gauge so you know what condition the bore is. You're also going to know that they have safety tested all the rifles. They test fire all the rifles before they leave the facility. So they are functioning, and they are functioning properly, and they are safe to shoot, and they're in great condition typically. And when you order from the CMP, you get a goodie bag too with the M1 Garand, and part of that goodie bag is you get a certificate of authenticity. Now, the reason why that's important is because the reputation of the CMP is pretty well known in the collector's circles. So when it comes to like resale value, people like knowing that the rifle came from the CMP for those aforementioned reasons, because it has such a good reputation that these rifles are going to be well built, well maintained, refurbished if necessary, safe and functional. You also get a free clip, free safety chamber flag, and owner's manual and stuff like that too. The other thing you get from the CMP, this giant case that is seriously built like a tank. Obviously, I was comedic when I was grunting there, but yeah, this thing is huge and it is really solid. I bounced this around, you know, so many airports all around the frickin' country and never had an issue with a rifle shifting or getting damaged or anything like that. I mean, this case alone is probably worth like $100. Again, all of this is provided in that $700 price tag, or if you go the next grade up, the $800 price tag. I think the highest grade you can purchase right now is $1,100. So yeah, it's really a fantastic deal if you've ever wanted to get into an M1 Garand. Again, they also have 1903 Springfields and 1917 Enfields. They do not have M1 carbines, so yes, I did kind of clickbait with the thumbnail because I didn't say which M1 I ordered and got in the mail. It was the M1 Garand, not this one. I purchased one. I purchased this used off of someone else. Now, depending on how this video is received and if you guys want to see it, I can make a full video on how to order from the CMP and explain it in as simplest ways as possible. But I think that goes beyond the scope of this video right now. So last but not least, I'd like to talk about M1 carbines and how we can get the CMP to sell some of these to us. Back around 2010, I believe, there was an opportunity for South Korea to give the US back 850,000 M1 carbines that were in the country. And unfortunately, that deal did not go through because someone in the Obama administration, through administrative action, I believe it was through executive order, stopped it from happening. And so I think the way that we would be able to get M1 carbines into the country through the CMP would be through petitioning our congressmen, our representatives, our senators to essentially tack on something to a bill that's going to get pushed through Congress anyways, some kind of clause mentioning the sale of M1 carbines or the transfer of M1 carbines from these foreign countries into the USA to be sold through the CMP. And that way, if it's signed into law through Congress, not even the president can overwrite that law. Now, that might sound far-fetched. You think, oh, how would Congress ever jump for that? Well, if you understand how US law is passed, number one, it's a mess. Number two, back in 2019 or 2020, the National Defense Authorization Act had a couple clauses put in there by, I think, a couple senators or representatives. They wrote in a clause that said that the CMP should be allowed to sell a bunch of surplus 1911s from the Army. I think it said 10,000 a year or something. But anyways, the National Defense Authorization Act is one of those bills that gets passed every year, and they burn a bunch of your money anyways, and it will always pass, and it will never get vetoed. So it'd be a perfect opportunity for some of our senators or representatives to sneak something in about M1 carbines, right? and they've already done it with 1911, so I don't think it's too far-fetched to do it with M1 carbines. If you found any of that information useful as far as getting firearms shipped to your house as a non-FFL holder, please go ahead and like and subscribe. And if you would like to, I would really appreciate you supporting the channel with a membership or a super thanks or something like that. Memberships start at, I think, $1 a month. And also, I would like to see you in my Discord, which I will link in the description below. Thanks for watching.